Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 20th of March, wherein we pick up all important news for the day and explain it to you in the most simple format for the examination perspective. So let's look at the important news which we are going to cover today. First, here is that a government has approved a relief program, that is resilience and logistics intervention for export facilitation under the export promotion mission. What exactly is this? We'll discuss. And then our defense minister has talked that India must emerge as a global hub for indigenous drone manufacturing. Then we are going to see how exactly astronauts who are going to space, how they re-enter and how they go for a safe landing, followed by a recent Supreme Court judgment has urged the government to revisit the crop diversification policy. We are also going to see certain quick updates along with the place in news, that is South Sudan. So all of us are very well aware of the tensions going across the West Asia region and the situations of war over there. And this is where that region, of course, is very important for India as well. And altogether in the geopolitical scenario, you must be knowing, because there are a lot of trade routes around from that particular region, and that this is where the exporters of India are also getting hurt due to the disturbance around that particular region. So just to provide a relief and a support, government has come up with this particular scheme, that is resilience and logistics intervention for export facilitation under the export promotion mission of the government. So this is where again these schemes, that is the export promotion mission, all of these schemes are very important for the upcoming prelims examination, because you understand they give you the name of scheme and they ask you 3-4 statements, and that's how you are going to revisit all such things which are very much occurring in the news and very important things for your prelims examination. So firstly, let's look at what exactly is the scheme all about. So we all know that there is a disturbance which is going on in the West Asia region, and exporters, or specifically Indian exporters, are largely hit due to disturbance. Why? Because the ships or the cargoes are taking longer routes because of the disturbance in the region, right? And they are going to follow any alternative route rather than their regular course of the route. Then of course this leads to a facing of higher freight costs, very automatic. And then they are of course paying high insurance premium. Why? Because the whole disturbed region, the premium is increasing. And lastly, they are facing war related exports risk. So this is what is making exporters or exports very costly and risky region, because of the disturbance in that particular region. And that's why government has come up with a scheme which talks about that relief, that is relief in its full form basically means resilience and logistics intervention for export facilitation, as a scheme under the export promotion mission of the government to help the exporters in that particular region. So what exactly is the scheme talking about? They are telling that we are going to mitigate the immediate impact of logistic disruptions, because that region, there are the entire Strait of Hormuz and all such regions are basically disturbed, and these are the prominent trade routes. And this is where we have to provide certain kind of a maybe mitigation program with respect to how we are going to balance this whole disruption in that particular region. Then we are going to get or protect the exporters confidence. Understand key, if someone is doing a business of export and he must be in a situation ki let's leave this business and go to some other way of living life. And this is where we need to give confidence to the exporters. Don't worry, we are there, government is providing you support. And that's why these kind of schemes are a wonderful initiative of the government with respect to instilling the confidence in the exporters. Then we are also going to prevent, for example, there are some kind of order cancellation which are also happening, right? For that, of course, exporters should not be hit due to that order cancellation. That is of course a measure under this particular program. Then safeguard employment, of course, in the export linked sectors, because a lot of people are employed in that particular sector. So this is where all such support are going to be provided under this relief scheme, so that the entire export sectors does not collapse due to the ongoing tension in that particular region. So this relief scheme, basically it is of course going to be implemented by a body, and that body is called as Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India. These are the topics which makes a prelims question in the examination, right? So they can give you relief scheme and they can talk about four statements about that particular scheme. They can give you 2-3 features from here and which body is releasing, which ministry is coming under this particular scheme. So all such topics are important for your upcoming prelims examination. It was set up in the year 1957. So again, works under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So basically एक तरीका का इंश्योरेंस स्कीम है फॉर एक्सपोर्टर्स. सो इट प्रोवाइड्स क्रेडिट रिस्क इंश्योरेंस फॉर एक्सपोर्टर्स. सो and there are a lot of mechanisms. For example, आपने export किया and the particular consignment and after that the receiver does not pay you back the money, and for all such measures there are let's say security measures which are being given under this particular system. That's why it is. So what exactly is happening in the region? So again, the relief scheme is specifically targeting the exports which are going to through the West Asia countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia and Israel. So there are three basic kind of support which are going to be discussed under this particular program. So number one, for example, there would be 3-4 scenarios. For example, let's say if someone is covered under the particular scheme, that is the credit scheme or the insurance scheme, then of course, and someone has sent their consignment and the region is disturbed. So for that situation, 100% risk coverage is being taken up by the government under this particular program. अगर आपका consignment निकल चुका है और वहाँ disturbance है and you did not know prior about that there will be disturbance, so for that 100% support is going to be given by the government. That is for exporters who have already again covered under this particular EGC scheme which we have discussed, and government will provide full protection against the risk. Even if something is going wrong, exporters are safe. इसी तरीके से we need to build the trust of exporters so that the entire economy, which is again dependent heavily on these exports as well, are not going to be disturbed. And then what happens? Now we also need to encourage the exporters कि चलो disturbance तो हो रहा है, but again don't worry, we are here for you, we will support you, and that's for that purpose, to encourage further exports and maybe also instill that confidence कि don't worry, government is there with you. We are providing 95% of risk coverage for any export which is now going to happen, even by knowing that there is a disturbance in the region, right? So for exporters planning the new consignments in the next 3 months, they will be getting 95% of risk coverage. So government will of course support them to take the GC scheme, and it is basically giving a confidence to exporters that don't worry, government is there with you and we will be helping you, supporting you. You go for your regular exports. And then there is a third category. Imagine there is some kind of an MSME who is also indulged in some kind of an exports, but they are not covered in the scheme. Insurance scheme उन्होंने लिया नहीं है. Then what would happen for them? You also know that government is supporting through a lot of schemes to this MSME sectors because they are considered as powerhouse of the economy. And this is where for them, even if they are not covered under this ECGC scheme, they will be given 50% of a reimbursement for any kind of exports which they are doing and that gets disturbed due to the war scenario. So again, for non-ECGC insured MSME exports, support is provided, 50% ka degi reimbursement. So that's how even small exporters do not get hit out of it, and that's why this program or the relief is providing the measures with respect to exporters across different platforms in different situations. Then with respect to what exactly is this export mission program of the government, again a very important topic for your prelims examination. They can give you consider the following statements regarding export promotion mission, and they will give you these three, four type of statements, and that's how you're going to get to know some organizations, some institutions comes in the news and they become important for your examination, right? So this export promotion mission, under which we have discussed this whole relief scheme of the government, right? So this is under this scheme, the government has a vision of providing flexibility, comprehensive and digitally driven framework for export promotion. Basically idea, financial outlay इतना है, 25,000 करोड़ का है, ये याद रख लो. No need to remember the exact figures as far as prelims based questions are concerned. And then the timeline, of course, series of 6 years, 25 to 2030, 31. And under this, there are two kind of supports. One is financial, one is non-financial. What is financial support? That is Niryat Protsahan. That is financial support for, of course, helping exporters to get affordable trade finance, supporting diversification into new markets. And then is non-finance support. That is Niryat Disha. Matlab, just a direction which has to be given to the exporters. So improving market readiness, boosting competitiveness of exporters, and it is being implemented by the agency called as Directorate General of Foreign Trade, DGFT. So again, very basic piece of information, but again, very important for your prelims examination, right? So again, the region is very important. You must have been following the news. So keep on updating the prelims based questions which could be framed from the topics which are there in the around of West Asia region. Moving on to the next news of the day. Of course, our defense minister has maybe talked about that India need to focus, or India need to emerge as a global hub for indigenous drone manufacturing, a very important topic. For again prelims examination, I'll tell you how and which type of component of questions could be asked in the examination. So generally, defense, of course, GS paper number 3, it is important. So drone, you must have seen a lot of times in a lot of movies and web series that again how drone is again used as a powerful tool in the situations of war, right? And that's where the modern kind of a warfare which is going around, this is where drones hold a very lot of importance, both strategically and in other purposes as well. So let's understand first why drones are important and what kind of support they are providing during the scenarios of warfare. So number one is they are helping for surveillance. You must have seen a lot of movies wherein the drones are being used by the military personnel to track and to go for surveillance around the region. That is a basic idea. So people no longer need to go physically to the places for surveillance. Drones is going to help in that particular scenario. So they give, of course, real-time, high-definition surveillance. Soldiers can watch enemy without risking their lives. We have seen that in movies as well. Then we have called as suppression of defenses. For example, what exactly is suppression of defenses? For example, Russia's Russia's Shahid drones, they attack in large numbers because अब देखिए drones है, they have a capability with respect to किसी भी country का defense system को suppress करने का. How exactly they attack in large numbers? Multiple drones attacking the defense system of the country, and that's how the defense system might get shattered due to this, maybe multiple attacks by the drones. And that is something which was being done by Russia's Shahid drones. They attack in large numbers to overwhelm air defense systems of any country. Then we have low cost warfare. So again, you need to understand that they are not having much of maybe let's say economic loss in terms of drones, right? So drones are very sustainable, very, let's say, cheap or low cost as a tool in a warfare. For example, Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb, of course, it used drone. So it shows that low cost unmanned aerial vehicles can still cause high, big strategic damage. So that is again a positive thing of drone, right? Technically kuch positive nahi hai. War is of course not correct humanitarian wise, but again we need to see what exactly are the capabilities of drones, because defense is also a very important topic. Then we have to also see they are also capable with respect to electronic warfare. We have seen with the coming up of artificial intelligence, drones, all those things, war is no longer about guns and tanks anymore, right? So this is where cyber warfare is there. We have also seen different kind of a warfare, which are the new ways in which the warfare has taken up a new, let's say, chapter altogether. So some drones can jam or spoof enemy radar and communication systems. So basically they have a different kind of let's say advantages in the modern warfare scenarios. That's where the defense minister has talked about that we need to be sustainable with respect to drone manufacturing in the country. Then with respect to different initiatives with respect to augmenting a drone production ecosystem, क्या सरकार कर रही है so that again drones are going to be manufactured in India itself. So of course you must have heard about, whenever we talk about manufacturing sector, under the manufacturing policy of the government is trying to make sure that we need to boost this particular sector, because India has still now does not reap the benefit of its manufacturing sector. And that's where these production linked incentive schemes come into picture. The more units of manufacture you do, you will be getting incentive over the extra amount of units which you are manufacturing, again giving a boost to the manufacturers to produce more. And this scheme is also getting implemented in the drone manufacturing sector as well. So for drones as well, this production linked incentive schemes are there, not just for drone but for drone components as well. Then we have import policy, right? Just to boost indigenous development of drones in the country, there has been a ban on certain type of drones, so that indigenously people are developing, or the, let's say, the defense companies are manufacturing drones. So we have banned import of complete built up drones, semi knocked down drones, and completely knocked down drones. All of these drones are banned, so that again their manufacture happens in India itself. Again, you can also link it to the whole ideas of Make in India initiative. Then we have tax rationalization. So again, in the drone sector, the tax or the GST has been reduced to 5%, which is making drones cheaper and boosting industrial growth. Again, this is how positive steps are being taken by the government to encourage people or the companies who are manufacturing drones in the country. Then promotion platforms. There are different ways in which these drones gets promoted, through platforms, through showcases, all such things, through mega events. For example, we have Bharat Drone Shakti, we have Bharat Drone Mahotsav, we have Drone International Expo. So these platforms promote drones and drone as a service, startups and new businesses models. And lastly, we have Swayan Portal. Again, it is a program of capacity building which is focusing on human resource development, because people also need to be trained that how exactly drone need to be manufactured and how they're supposed to be used. All such things are being done by this particular program of the government. So these are the basic initiatives through which government is giving a boost to drone manufacturing in the country. And the defense minister has talked about that we need to give more such importance, because these are the new tools of the modern warfare and we need to be well equipped with that technology as well. Then there are different type of drones. Again, this is where questions could be asked in examination in prelims. They can give you different type of these basic functions. तो यहाँ आपको घबराना नहीं है. You are not basically becoming a defense expert over here. Just from examination perspective, you need to differentiate between different type of drones. What are their purposes? That is a basic system. For example, we have surveillance and reconnaissance drones. Again, surveillance का मतलब क्या है? For using for surveillance. So basic idea. So these drones are primarily used for intelligence surveillances, and India currently has, यहाँ आता है important parameters. They can give you the name of certain equipments. आपको बोल देंगे कि घातक, Nagastra, or maybe they can give you an option that is Tapas BH. These are types of missiles. They are type of, let's say, aircraft, defense aircraft और drones. तो आपको नाम पता होना चाहिए कि ये basic नाम किस चीजों के, drones के नाम है ये. Questions will be of this nature in examination. They won't ask you the technical details. They can ask you just, they can give you these four names and they can tell you what kind of things they are. Whether they are ships, whether they are aircraft, whether they are drones, or none of these. तो आपको इतना ही information चाहिए for prelims examination. This is not me telling, it is the pattern of UPSC which has told कि questions will be of those simple nature from science and tech or defense question topics in the examination, right? So Tapas BH 2.0, then we have Rustam, we have Heron. आपको ये सारे नाम दे देंगे, बोलेंगे these are type of drones or what? तो आपको नाम पता होना चाहिए कि these names are basically names of drones. Then we have armed combat drones, of course, for launching missiles and dropping bombs. India has DRDO's Ghatak. Then Israel का है Heron TP. Then we have loitering munitions, that is, these drones are designed to loiter over a target area and strike when target is identified. Again, we have Nagastra. Then we have Warmate. Then lastly, we have swarm drones. These are multiple drones who operate in coordination to overwhelm the enemy, the whole defense system of the enemy. So these are the basic examples which you should be remembering for your upcoming prelims examination. That's all about drones and the news which we are discussing. Then moving on to the next news, this was again there in the explained section of the paper, and space, technology, defense, again a very important topic for a prelims and mains examination. Again, coming under the domain of paper number 3 for mains, and of course paper number 1 for your prelims examination. So you have, of course, seen different space missions, astronauts going on space missions, spacecrafts going on space missions. But you also need to understand that once the mission gets completed, how these spacecrafts are safely coming back to the Earth's atmosphere, how are astronauts safely coming back, how they are landing in a smooth manner, what kind of challenges they are facing, and that is what we are going to discuss in this particular topic. So firstly, that of course, once there is a safe spacecraft which has went for its operation or any kind of a purposes, so once in the outer space, they are moving at a very large, very high speeds, right? And once they are finishing their task and the mission, they want to enter into the Earth's atmosphere. They have to do basic steps. There are basic mechanisms which need to be followed so that they enter into the Earth's atmosphere in a very safe and sound manner. And that is where this program comes into picture. We need to understand how exactly these incoming of astronauts and spacecrafts come into picture. So this is where we need to understand what is deorbit burn process. Agar spacecraft hai, it is, let's say, of course, outside the Earth atmosphere, so it is revolving at a very high speed. So now we need to first reduce this high speed of the aircraft. For that, agar aircraft chal rahi hai aise, so in the reverse direction, we will give a thrust so that the maybe the speed could be reduced. मतलब अगर एक इंजन ऐसे आगे चल रहा है तो हम एक और thrust देंगे, which is igniting engine in the backward direction so that the speed could be controlled. सबसे पहला काम होता है speed control का. So spacecraft is moving at a very fast pace, and to come back, it does a deorbit burn process. That is, it fires engines in a reverse to slow down, and then once it gets slowed down, then the gravity of the Earth, of course, gravity of the Earth is attracting, and that's how the spacecraft enter into the Earth's atmosphere. So now the problem starts here. So the speed wala kaam to it is being done by a deorbit burn process. But what happens ki once it enters into Earth atmosphere, there is a very high temperature over there. So it creates a very extreme heat because engine इतनी हाई स्पीड में आगे चल रही पीछे चल रही है. So again, the spacecraft becomes extremely heated, and to mitigate that it does not impact the astronauts inside the spacecraft is built or the capsule is built by a heat shield to protect the astronauts. That's a basic idea. Then now once they have entered into Earth's atmosphere, now एक प्रॉब्लम था कि टू कंट्रोल द हीट, एंड फॉर दैट वी हैव मेड द कैप्सूल्स which is going to shield the excess amount of heat. But you need to also understand that after that what happens? After that we are of course deploying parachutes. So after surviving the heat, and spacecraft will of course slow down further as and when it is maneuvering around the Earth's atmosphere, and then it opens up the parachute. So again, they are acting just like a natural brake, and that's how capsule ends landly safely either on the land or in the ocean. इसको बोलते हैं हम, this process को बोलते हैं splashdown. So that's how the entire re-entry phase of a spacecraft is happening once it enters into Earth's atmosphere after completing its mission. But what are the challenges? So अब challenges क्या है? Number one, कि we have seen कि it generates huge amount of heat. So now अब this is Earth and this is, let's say, a spacecraft. Now we have decreased the speed. Okay, now at what angle it should enter the Earth, that is also very important, right? Once it enters into Earth's gravity, at what angle the spacecraft is entering, that is again creating a lot of importance, and that's a very important. The most critical part, of course, is if angle of the entrance is wrong, then it is, if it is too steep, the spacecraft burns up because of the, of course, the heat. And second, if it is too shallow, then the spacecraft may bounce back again to the space. That's a major critical part, that the angle at which it enters at Earth's atmosphere, that is very important. Then we have surviving intense heat. Key temperature revolves around 1600 to 4000 degrees Celsius, and that is of course very enough to melt down a spacecraft. And this is where we are using heat shield protecting, let's say, or maybe a kind of technology to make that capsule so that they can resist these high temperatures of heat. That's the whole process. You need to basically understand this, nothing beyond this to be understood. Then with respect to, then we have to see, then the third problem is the speed has to be reduced because they are maneuvering at a speed of 17,500 to 25,000 miles per hour, which is faster than the speed of sound. So isko control karna काफी मुश्किल होता है. And the challenge is they must slow down gradually without losing the control. If something is moving in such a high speed, you need to control it, you need to enter that atmosphere, you need to match the whole gravity scenario. It's a very challenging thing. And then once the spacecraft is entering into the Earth's atmosphere, as I discussed, the temperature is very high. So this high temperature is blocking the communication channels or frequencies during the high intense heat period. So during re-entry, the heat turns in Earth's, let's say, the air into plasma sheet. So it acts like a metal barrier. So result is the radio signals get blocked for a temporary period, and that's how communication blackout is happening. So these are the major challenges once we are facing with respect to once spacecraft is entering back the Earth's atmosphere after completing its mission, and respect to safe incoming of astronauts who have went for those missions. And these are challenges. Of course, ISRO is working day and night towards a safe coming of astronauts who are there in these space missions. Okay, there are many programs ISRO has done. For example, SRE 2007, which was a successful space capsule recovery experiment. It was later in 2014. It was again, we have maybe progressed more by making it an advanced re-entry testing. Then we have orbital re-entry vehicle, which is a winged vehicle, just like a plane is there and it is landing in the, of course, runway. In a similar manner, this orbital re-entry vehicle, it can land just like an aircraft on a runway. So these are the initiatives of ISRO with respect to safe incoming of safe incoming of these aircrafts or the space missions and capsules which are carrying the astronauts. A very important topic for your examination. Then we have Supreme Court judgments. So this is where you need to understand that many times Supreme Court give various judgments. These judgments are going to be useful in your mains examination, where again you can quote these judgments as a reference or as solutions in your answers. For example, this topic talks about crop diversification, and in crop diversification, this is a directive which is being given by Supreme Court of India to the government, that again, government, you please change your policy of food diversification in the country. You must have read that topic in the topic of agriculture in paper number 3, right? And that's how you can use these judgments in your answers as certain solution. Now let's understand what exactly has happened. So there was a petition which was being filed in the courts, and here the petitioner, unhone bola, there's a group of farmers who told कि government is importing, let's say, pulses, and they are not imposing duty on those pulses. Due to this, the price of pulses in the market is getting distorted, and due to which the farmers who are cultivating or who are trying to cultivate those pulses are getting discouraged due to the price distortion. And this was a petition which was being filed in Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court, after considering that particular petition, has given this directive to the government of India, and that is where this news comes into picture. So the petition was Kishan Mahapanchayat versus Union of India and others. Supreme Court said that government, of course, should revisit its crop diversification policy, because government was allowing import of yellow dal or maybe the pulses without imposing any kind of a duty, which has of course reduced the price of pulses in the country, but it has distorted it has discouraged the farmers who are trying to grow pulses in the country, right? So it had made pulses farming less profitable, and it has discouraged farmers from growing pulses. So these were the issues which were put up by this Kisan Mahapanchayat group in the Supreme Court of India in its petition. And after hearing the petition, Supreme Court has given this directive to the government. So what is crop diversification? You must have seen that in India, one of the problems with respect to agriculture sector is ki we have seen MSPs are high for wheat and paddy, right? And this is where we farmers are only growing maybe certain specific type of crops which has huge demand in the market, right? So primarily we are focusing on wheat and paddy mostly, now millets as well because of the millets program. But again, pulses may we are still lagging behind, and these kind of initiative, these kind of maybe let's say disturbances is again discouraging farmers to grow more. So that's the basic idea. So the goal of course here is ki we need to go for crop diversification because it has a lot of advantages both for farmers, then ecosystem, soil, all these things. You must have learned that. Let's look at what are the benefits of crop diversification. Number one, की dominance है किसका wheat and paddy का. So this is where we are let's say the farmers are less growing of pulses and oil seeds, so that's why we are importing, and that's why our balance of payment is of course going to get disturbed due to this. So why not to, let's say, grow oil seed pulses more in India as well. Then we have environmental sustainability because you must have seen the nitrogen fixation property of soil, which could be done by let's say alternatively growing pulses along with this wheat and paddy. That's a basic idea. So continuous wheat and paddy cycle leads to soil health decrease, and also of course because these are highly water intensive crops, so they are of course depleting down water as well. Then we have nutritional security because pulses, of course, they are protein. So, and these paddy and wheat are basically carbs. So again, just to improve the nutritional security of the country. So pulses, more pulses, of course, is going to give balanced diet to the people. And lastly, it is of course going to fixate the nitrogen in the soil. And that is, of course, it could improve the soil fertility. So these are the potential benefits of crop diversification. You must have read it multiple number of times. Then we have what are the challenges with respect to these pulses, why these farmers have put up this petition in Supreme Court of India. Number one is absence of incentivized MSP. What's the meaning of incentivized MSP? Because understand that there are a lot of challenges. For example, maybe just a hypothetical scenario, if MSP on, let's say, wheat is, let's say, rupees 2000, right, per, let's say, quintal, just a hypothetical scenario, and the market price of wheat is, let's say, maybe 2100 or something, but the demand of wheat in market is very high because we are not importing wheat, right? So now even if a farmer is not able to sell the product to the government under this MSP procurement, it has a huge potential, he has a huge potential to sell this in the market. Why? Because in market there is a demand of wheat. But what about pulses? When pulses, even if government is giving, let's say, subsidy more than, let's say, this wheat, yeah, pulses ke liye assume ki the government is giving subsidy of 20 or MSP of 2100. But what is happening in the current scenario now? At market, the price of pulses is 1800 rupees, right? So which is less than the MSP, and there are no channels which are giving to a guarantee that farmers, you come with pulses, we will buy the pulses from you. There is no channel and institution of the government which is making it mandatory to procure pulses from these farmers, and that's why they have to sell in a destitute situation at a less price. और ये price less क्यों हो रहा है? Because sir, we are importing pulses and without imposing any duty. So market में pulses के price distort हो रहे हैं. That's where the scenario comes into picture. So this is where we have an absence of incentivized MSP. Then of course mismatch of MSP and import policies. Government gives MSP but also allows cheap import. So again the whole idea gets shattered away, and this reduces market prices and hurts the farmers. Other problems are, for example, lack of infrastructure, awareness, capital, climate, and technical knowledge with respect to growing of pulses and oilseeds in the country. So these are the potential challenges. Now Supreme Court ने बोला है कि government please come with certain kind of reforms. The demand and the problems which is being conveyed by the pulses grower farmers are correct. You need to revise this whole scenario. And again, example of judicial activism. काम किसका है? एग्जीक्यूटिव का. कर कौन रहा है? जुडिशियल डायरेक्ट कर रहा है. एग्जाम्पल ऑफ जुडिशियल एक्टिविज्म, राइट. सो गवर्नमेंट रिफॉर्म्स, बेटर इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल कोऑर्डिनेशन के लिए बोला गया है, लॉन्ग टर्म स्टेबल पॉलिसी फॉर पल्सेस एंड ऑयल सीड्स, इट हैज बीन टोल्ड बाय सुप्रीम कोर्ट. Then MSP and price support, that has to be because we are providing MSP, but that has to be made sure ki the farmers are getting benefit out of it. That is something which Supreme Court has directed the government to go for. So they're telling MSP should cover cost plus risk as per the Swaminathan committee idea. Farmers must get a guaranteed platform to sell at MSP, which is not being done in the case of pulses in the country. And then include ground level experts for policy making. यहाँ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि ओके, वी आर नॉट टेलिंग दैट the policy makers are not aware of the challenges which these farmers are facing, but again please include some of the members of the farmers community so that a better understanding of the demand could be then, and they could also provide some kind of an input with respect to policy making, with respect to crop diversification in the country. And of course import policy ko bola gaya hai, please align with the MSP so that cheap imports does not disturb or distort the price of pulses and does not hit the pulses growing farmers in the country. This is a basic idea. So again you can use them in your answers of crop diversification, right? That is how it is. So again, this is where you need to understand कि अभी तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने सिर्फ बोला है सरकार को, it is just a directive. Let's see whether government is implementing it or not. That is again a question which we need to see further as and when the policy is going to come up. Then there are different initiatives of crop diversification where the government is ongoing. Number one is crop diversification program, CDP, under Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. Then we have promotion of pulses under mission of Atmanirbharta on pulses oil seeds under National Mission of Edible Oil, oil seeds and horticulture crops under the mission of integrated development of horticulture. Ye schemes are important for your prelims examination. Okay. Now moving on to the quick updates for the day. Very first we'll see the place in news, that is South Sudan. Again it was in news. Why? Because the violence has escalated in the Jonglei state of South Sudan. So again that's why this is a news. We have discussed multiple number of times ki jo bhi place news mein hai, please locate them in the map because they are very important. Every year I think 1 or 2 questions are being asked from place in news based type of question. Of course the nature of questions are different, but map based questions are there in the examination. So South Sudan, of course the capital is Juba, right? It is a basically landlocked country, koi water body nahi hai aaspas. You need to see the bordering countries. That's how they can ask you arrange from east to west or clockwise anti-clockwise direction the countries around South Sudan. So basically यही आपको देखना है, right? And then major conflicting areas के नाम देख लीजिए. That's a basic idea. That is the only thing which you need to remember as far as this country is concerned. Then now for all the news in short, very important for your prelims examination questions. Let's see how. Number one is force majeure. So of course you need to understand that whenever let's say there is maybe I am US or I have made a booking ki I need this amount of gas, and let's say Israel, you send me this or UAE, you give me this piece of land. So there is an agreement or a contract बनता है. अब मान लीजिए आपने पैसे दे दिए और आपको वापस जो प्रोडक्ट मिलनी चाहिए मिल नहीं रही है. So there is a breach of contract, and this is where there is a French term called as force majeure, that again this contract can be maybe curtailed in certain situations of war and extent. This is where this force majeure is being used by in the backdrop of United States Israel war on Iran, and Gulf countries have declared that they are going to have force majeure on gas exports. कि हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बोलता है कि आपको गैस देना है बट हम दे नहीं पा रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द वॉर सिचुएशन, एंड दैट इज अगेन अ क्लॉज. सो फोर्स मेजूरे मींस सुपीरियर फोर्स. इट इज अ क्लॉज इन अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दैट अलाउज पार्टी टू नॉट फुलफिल इट्स ऑब्लिगेशंस व्हेन अनफोरसीन events beyond its control take place, and these events could be war, natural disaster or major disruptions. They can ask you what is force majeure and they give you 4 options. So questions of that nature could be asked in the examination. Then we have Sipkila Pass. Again, we have discussed this last year as well. That again, we had this whole issue around the Doklam, but it was later solved by both the countries, India and China. And we have opened the region for trade, right? So border trade has resumed. It is going to start from 1st of June. And in the, of course, it is going to happen through Shipkila Pass, which is there in Himachal Pradesh. So jitne passes hai, again important of that particular region, they can give you passes and they can give you between which two countries or which two regions it is there. So trade was disrupted because of Doklam and COVID-19. So 25 May, we both countries have agreed that let's open the pass for trade, and through Lipu Lake Pass, Shipkila Pass and Nathula Pass. So Shipkila Pass connects India and Tibet, of course part of China. Then it was earlier known as Pemala, that is a shared pass, and the Satluj River enters India through Shipkila Pass. Important facts hai for your prelims examination. Then we have V2X technology. So what is V2X technology? That is vehicle to any communication channel. मान लीजिए आप you are, let's say, driving a vehicle. Now through this technology, your vehicle can interact with a person in the road or other vehicles in the road or the situation of traffic in the road, and that is how we are going to make traveling faster, smoother, and let's say sustainable in different scenarios, and that's where this technology comes into picture. So the union government has initiated airwave spectrum allocation for this particular technology. Hai kya ye? So basically it allows vehicles to communicate with other vehicles, persons or pedestrians or cyclists and roadside infrastructure. मान लीजिए कि आप ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं और आपकी गाड़ी को पता है कि आगे कितनी ट्रैफिक है, so that it can optimize its speed, right? Or there are, of course, knowing what is a speed limit which should be there, and I am driving beyond speed limit, that could lead to an accident, right? So there are different ways in which through the help of this technology it is going to altogether change the road safety scenario in the country and the whole idea of traffic management in the modern urban infrastructures, right? So it helps in enhanced road safety by allowing vehicles to detect vulnerable road users, and it also improves traffic efficiency by enabling smarter and faster in movement on the roads. Very important technology. They can ask you basically V2X technology किसके लिए होती है? For maybe let's say vehicles to interact with different other components once they are commuting. Then we have South Pars gas field, again the whole region, all important places where which is being hit and which are major oil reserves or major energy reserves of those countries, they become important for your examination. So again a major hit was being done on this South Pars gas field of Iran, right? So the Iran has led to energy infrastructure में बहुत attacks हो रहे हैं, and the South Pars gas field is located where in the Iran's southern coast, and it is sharing with Qatar's North Dome gas field, and which is the largest natural gas reservoir in the world. Understand कि energy अगर disturb होगी, so how it is going to maybe impact a common household in a country which is far away from the war region. And that is something which everyone needs to understand, right? So last, Lafan industrial city, which is in Qatar, of course, is a home to world's largest LNG export plant, and Shah gas field in Abu Dhabi, which is of course getting hit, which hosts the world's largest ultra sour gas operation. Sour gas को बोलते हैं. Sour gas is a natural gas which containing hydrogen sulfide. Facts हैं, important places हैं, which are important from your examination point of view. Then we have the next topic, that is Caspian Sea. Again, with respect to the whole West Asian region, जितने भी map है उनके around अच्छे देखिए. So the Caspian Sea, Israel has reportedly struck Iranian targets in the Caspian Sea for the very first time. That's why this Caspian Sea is in news. So please see them in map. Neighboring countries को देखिए, right? So it is basically a salt water lake and largest inland, मतलब within the land boundaries water body on the earth, and it is located of course in Eurasia and bordered by Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Russia and Iran. That's the basic bordering countries. ये remember करना जरूरी है. And then it has a huge petroleum and natural gas reserves, and major rivers like Volga, Amba, and Ural are draining into this particular sea, and it is known for Sturgeon spawning grounds and is home to Caspian seal, right, which is the only marine mammal found in that particular region, right? So again, basic place, just see the facts, could be a probable question in your prelims examination. Then we have Mahad Satyagraha. Again, very important. Ki there are some important satyagrahas, right, which come back in news in the form of this kind of topic, and they become important for examination. I don't think so. You must have heard about Mahad Satyagraha in any of your standard books, but again, it is completing 100 years of its completion, and that's why it is in news. So basically, this satyagraha was done against the whole ideas of untouchability Dalits. Mr. B.R. Ambedkar was telling there were public places यहाँ पे Dalits को हम we are not allowing them to drink water, and that is why the satyagraha has happened. So basically, we are celebrating 100 years of that. So Mahat Satyagraha, which began on 20th March 1927 at the Chavdar Tale, that is Mahad region of Maharashtra. So it was a non-violent protest led by Mr. Ambedkar to secure the right of untouchables to access public drinking water. Basically challenge the whole idea of caste discrimination, and symbolic acts like drinking water from public tanks and burning of Manusmriti. So key leaders included leaders included Anand Rao Chitre, Bapu, Mr. then Sambhaji Gaikwad and Ramachandra More. All such personalities हैं, देख लीजिए इनको एक बार. And in 1937 the Bombay High Court upheld the right of untouchables to use public tanks after this particular protest. आपको बस पता होना चाहिए कि Mahad Satyagraha is a satyagraha towards what? So they can ask you, they can confuse you कि कोई ऐसी freedom struggle वाली सत्याग्रह तो नहीं थी. It is basically a satyagraha of Dalits to access public drinking water. That's the basic idea of this Mahad Satyagraha. It happened at the region Mahad region of Maharashtra. इसलिए उसको बोलते हैं Mahad Satyagraha. Then we have postal ballot. You must have seen elections. Again, very important topic for examination. Elections is in news. Chief Election Commissioner body is again in news because the removal process is being discussed by the opposition members, and that's why the entire topic is important for examination. So what are postal ballots? In the voting or during election process, there are many scenarios where again some people cannot go and vote. So for them, there is a concept something called as postal ballot. आपके घर पे आपको मिल जाएगा ballot. You cast your vote because again, the right to vote, of course, is a constitutional right, and under Article 326, of course. And now we want, in a democracy, this is a very important right which has to be exercised by every individual, every citizen, right? And just to ensure that everyone is getting voting rights, and let's say you are maybe a police personnel, or you are a member of military forces, or let's say you are maybe someone who is there as a foreign ambassador in any country. So does this lead to your non-voting in during the election process? No, for that we have postal ballot. So recently Election Commission has come up with a new maybe enabling mechanism that by allowing postal ballot for electors who are maybe old age, above 85 years of age, and persons with disabilities. So of course, without going to polling station, they can vote through postal ballot. So basically a ballot is being received, the person is going to cast his vote and send back the postal. Our entire mechanism is governed by Conduct of Elections Rules of 1961 and Representations of People Act of 1951. So, and किसको available है ये? Very important to service voters who are maybe service voters इसको बोलते हैं. Service voters include armed forces personnel, CRPF, Central Armed Police Forces, and government staffed who are in abroad. Then let's say we have special voters. Who are special voters? So again, special voters include president, vice president, governors, cabinet ministers and their spouses. Then it is applicable to absentee voters, that is 85 plus, and these persons with disabilities. Then again, persons with preventive detention. Very important कि if you are detained under a preventive detention law, you will be allowed to vote, right? So again, a very important concept कि if you are under trial and you are in jail, you have not been convicted, you are just an under trial, you do not have a right to vote. But if you are under trial and if you are in bail outside, you're allowed to vote. So this is where there are reforms which are required in those areas as well. Then maybe we have detention and elections duty personnel. They are allowed to go for postal ballot. That's the basic information. Then we have World Happiness Report. ये है आपके examinations gold question कि they can ask you these reports, they can ask you which body releases this particular report, what is the ranking of India. So recently World Happiness Report has been released. So it is published by Wellbeing Research Center, University of Oxford, in partnership with Gallup and UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So it is basically telling you understand how social media has impacted our lives, and it is telling that so due to social media, the happiness quotient is also getting reduced, especially among youth in the country. So this report has highlighted that happiness and social media and shows a decline in youth happiness linked to social media usage. Very important understanding which every one of us should understand, right? And the top ranked countries are Finland, Iceland and Denmark in the happiness parameter, and the lowest stars, of course, the Afghanistan, Sierra Leone and Malawi. India is of course not having a very good rank, 160th position, 116 out of 147 countries. And of course we have improved our rank by 25 में हमारा rank था 118 और उसके पहले 126. They can ask you statements like this कि India has in the last 3 consecutive years declined or maybe improved its position in the World Happiness Report. Again, statements like this could be framed with examination, right? So with this, we come to an end of today's news today discussions. Whatever questions could be framed from the topic which we have discussed will pop up in your screen. Please solve those questions. That is how you're going to get confidence for the current affairs based questions which could be asked as a form of prelims based questions. And lastly, VisionIAS has come up with digital current affairs platform. Please go and explore the entire website. With the upcoming examination, is certainly going to help you a lot with respect to your current affairs preparation for the examination. Good luck, all the very best.